Hello everybody, welcome back to Mining Modern. I'm Corbin Hostler and this is Tallow-Wisp Spirits. This deck's pretty sweet, I won't lie. I haven't played it before and I don't know if this thing's capable, but as you can see, this is the new addition to the deck that's been allowed into 5-0 some leagues, I guess. Curious Obsession. Pretty good, putting this thing on a creature, drawing some cards. Not hard to attack every turn in this deck. Now, should I mulligan this hand? I'm not sure. It has lands and spells, and these are certainly some high value lands, but let's see what our opponent's up to here. Well, that is unfortunate. We are going to be down a card. I can only assume our Spell Queller is going away here. Probably Grixis Death Shadow, something along those lines. Yeah, keeping the double Curious Obsession hand is certainly a bit questionable, but I mean, it has lands and spells, and, you know, I don't know. It's not that unreasonable. Like, if this was a 6-card hand and it had 1 Curious Obsession, I would have kept it, so why not keep it with 2? There's Ether Vial right on time here. This is decent, though. Being able to play on our opponent's instep is good. Let's see what they have a follow-up here. We have a removal for their first creature, and then if we ever do draw a creature and they've tapped out, we'll get a hit in with it. Don't know how likely that is, of course, but we'll see. Don't necessarily love drawing the Ether Vial on turn 2 after we get Inquisitioned here, but we'll see what happens. Our opponent doesn't have anything, so that's a start. And there's a Cavern of Souls, so we're not going to get encountered one way or another here. Ether Vial and Cavern, both going to protect against that. Definitely need to draw a creature. And our opponent gets to opt on the instep. Well, I would not say that this is setting up great for us here, but we'll see what we can draw. Our opponent went bottom with the opt, so I guess that's probably a start. Interesting, they fetched a second, well, sure, there goes our path. They fetch a second Watery Grave there. Mismatch art even. What a faux pas. Alright, well, if our opponent's not going to punish us with anything, we might just have time to draw out of it. And that, interesting, that's crazy. They actually took the Curious Obsession over the path. I'm not sure about that one because... it seems like, 1, they're probably just going to have removal whenever we do get around to this. But 2, I mean, I don't know that I'd be going in on 2 Curious Obsessions here. Wow. That's pretty disastrous for us, actually. Yeah, that might just kill us. Our deck's got a lot of creatures. I would like to draw one. I'm going to go ahead and take this vial up to 3 here. And that worked out. Not really sure what our plan is here. I mean, I think we're still going to lose this Liliana, but we'll see what happens. I guess I'll discard the... Man, alright. At least we'll make the Lily down tick here, maybe. Alright, let's see what they thought sees. Our opponent had, I mean, a reasonable draw. Double discarding Liliana is pretty good, but we also didn't have a great draw. Alright, so we have to sacrifice a creature here. I guess it's not worth pathing my own Drog Skull Captain. Let's see if we can draw a creature here. Well, we did draw a creature. I wouldn't call it a great creature, but it's at least a body. And it does make our next one good if our opponent somehow doesn't have removal or doesn't Liliana this thing to death. We're at least drawing creatures to sort of keep the Liliana in check. If somehow our opponent just doesn't have removal, which again seems unlikely, but... Alright, so they Field of Ruin our Cavern of Souls. That makes sense. Our opponent must have some... If they just have a bunch of dead counterspells in their hand, maybe they're forced to actually burn the Liliana like that. Now, they might just follow up with another Liliana and the game ends, but... Yeah, no, you can't do anything about that. That's basically unbeatable no matter what you do. Yeah, opponent has Hero's Downfall. So it's just blue-black control. Interesting. Well, we need to draw a creature now. That is the problem with this deck compared to the Bant Spirits. Wow, that's actually kind of reasonable here. Compared to the Bant Spirits list, our deck does not have any great 2-for-1s. It is pretty reliant on curving out and getting some value with Curious Obsessions. But drawing this Moorland Haunt is actually a pretty big game. We don't have anything we can do with those spirits, but they'll poke Liliana. They make the minus really bad. If our opponent doesn't have a way to actually win the game anytime soon, this might be exactly what we need. And our opponent didn't even use Liliana there, so that's also good. And Spellqueller is a pretty great draw. All right, we might be starting to turn the corner here just a little bit. It's great, too. We can vial in the Spellqueller so it can't be countered and still activate Moorland Haunt. So Liliana might be kind of dealt with for the moment, and we'll see what our opponent has from this point on. But I think we were actually kind of trying to claw back in this game, in large part thanks to this Moorland Haunt. Looks like we're not going to get any value out of this Spellqueller because of the Liliana going for the discard, but that's okay. We still get the creature in play. Still a 2/3 flyer. I mean, it's not irrelevant, that's for sure. We don't have to discard. They do. We still get to activate Moorland Haunt. Yeah, our opponent's just on blue-black control, but they only have 2 cards in hand now, and we get to make another spirit. I would say that Cryptic Commands are basically our worst nightmare right now. Just chain Cryptics and Ultimate Liliana, essentially, that sort of thing would be pretty bad for us. Alright, we only have 1 more to exile, so that's also worth keeping in mind. Let's see if we draw something good here, though. That wasn't bad. I think it's worth going to town with this. I don't know. I mean, it's just going to get discarded to Liliana. We may as well play it. Our opponent, you know, might... You know, they have a lot of options. Honestly, sure, they're going to Fatal Push our guy. That's fine. Fatal Pushing a Spirit token to get our Curious Obsession, not that bad for us. Now we get a poke Liliana, hopefully here down to 1 counter. Nope, I've got something. Snapcaster for push. Okay. They don't have Revolt. Oh, Snapcaster for Opt. Interesting. All right. I was going to say, our opponent also doesn't have Revolt, so they can't kill the Spellqueller here. So we're going to get a pop Liliana for 2 unless they happen to draw Fatal Push here. Or 3, I suppose. All right, so Opt, they kept it on top, so that's not great for us. But we put Liliana down to 1 counter. We don't have any cards in hand. Everything we want is in the battlefield here with this Moorland Haunt. Let's see what our opponent has. Spreading Seas on our Moorland Haunt. Well, fair enough. That's pretty good for them, actually. There goes our last creature from the graveyard. I'd say we're in a reasonable position, and you know our opponent does get to draw some cards here. If they don't have Cryptic and we take Liliana off the board, though, things start to look pretty reasonable for us. And that's not going to allow them to cast a Cryptic command. So, okay, we might be getting somewhere here. I'm taking this hit from the Snapcaster, attempting to block, but I'm not messing around with this Liliana here. I just want to send everything I can at it. I assume my opponent's not even going to activate it. They'd just be throwing away their last card, and we should be able to kill it no matter what they do. So we have 1 Curious Obsession left in our deck. Temporal Isolation. Okay, sure. It has Flash, so that's nice, I guess. Alright, I'm going to send both these Spirits at Liliana. And this at our opponent here. Because they only have 1 card in hand, so unless that last card is Echoing Truth, we're going to take Liliana out regardless here. Okay, well, there you go. We have a little bit of an army in play now, thanks to the Moorland Haunt. Our opponent had the answer for it, but it came a little late. And there they have Revolt to Fatal Push our Spellqueller, sure. So our opponent has no cards. We're both top decking. We're winning the race, and we have a removal spell in hand. So what Temporal Isolation does, it gives a creature Shadow, and it has Flash. So the creature with Shadow can only block or be blocked by creatures with Shadow, but also prevent all damage that will be dealt by it. So it's more or less just a pacifism, and that is a pretty excellent draw on our part. So we can answer a creature if we need to, including the Snapcaster Mage if we really have to at some point. But having the Spell Queller here is also pretty huge. If our opponent does draw something relevant, we can just Spell Queller it away, and they still only have the one card in hand. So we're even immune to a Cryptic Command here for the moment. Interesting, our opponent did not attack there. Wow, Bygone Bishop's pretty nice. Really nice part about this deck, too, is so many creatures have flash, and thanks to Ether Vial, basically everything does, so... We can Violin the Bishop if we want to. We can, and this would even trigger off the... We can Violin... If our opponent tries to cast a spell, we can Violin Bishop, cast Spell Queller, and even if Sarah's Spell Queller were to get countered or die, we'd still get to investigate. It's pretty good all around. I will just go for it here. With the Spell Queller up, I don't see any reason not to. So this, interestingly, we actually do have to cast the Spell Queller. So we have the option of either investigating or countering. Let's see what our opponent tries to do here with this mana. They want to Murderous Cut our Bygone Bishop, huh? Well, I can't actually target that with Spell Queller because the reverted mana cost is 5. So fair enough. We'll just let it go. And Selfless Spirit a little late here. Alright, well, let's knock our opponent down to 4. Now we'll put Lethal in play with his Selfless Spirit. That protects against a board wipe as well, so Damnation not going to do much here. And we have the Spell Queller up. Our opponent is in quite a bit of trouble. I thought we were so dead this game with those Lilianas. That is a Jace. However, fortunately for our opponent, I'm going to try to counter this Jace the Mind Sculptor. So even if our opponent removes it and they get to play it for free, they still have to spend more mana. And look at that, we got it. All right. I didn't think we were going to win that one, but I'll take it. Now, what do we want here? There's Snapcaster X, so I guess we want these Rest in Peace. That's pretty much it, right? Our deck is decently set up here. I think, I mean, Eidolon is just sort of this value 3 drop. It's good against Snapcaster Mage, too, for what it's a Mage, and it's, you know, 3. It's a reasonable card on its own. I don't think we need the Path to Exiles. Honestly, I'm a little questionable on playing this many Curious Obsessions, but hey, it worked out in that game. I don't think, yeah, we don't necessarily need the pass. We don't need to counter color this stuff. Alliance, Herald, don't want it. Azorius, or Settle the Wreckage, don't need it. It's only Silence, don't need it. Kentucky. Yeah, this is as good as it's going to get here. The Rest in Pieces are good. I don't like playing against a control deck, and maybe basically we're playing enchantments, and enchantments are famous for getting you 2 for 1 when you try to put it on something and it gets removed. Our opponent has quite a bit of removal, but hopefully we'll have a chance to have a window here to use it. Gosh, I'm glad we have these 2 Moorland Haunts. Remember, this card was extraordinarily powerful in Standard. If you played that Standard format, it was sort of the infamous Delver Standard format with Restoration Angels, and oh, I'm not going to be able to remember the stupid artifact, but no, I'm not going to be able to remember the name of it. It's a 2-mana artifact equipment that then equip for 2, and your creature got +1/+0 for each equipment, or for each instant or sorcery in your graveyard. And it was just huge. And they played Delver, and you throw it on Delver, and then you Vapor Snag their creatures, and you Mana Leak their spells, and you just play this little Protect the Delver strategy and kill them, and you throw whatever that equipment is on it. And then the crazy thing was, even if you ever got past all of that, if you were able to deal with the Delver, deal with the Restoration Angels, they just started exiling creatures and make this stream of 1/1s that are evasive and just huge when you throw whatever the equipment is on them. See if I can remember what it is or find it real quick. Our opponent's going deep in the tank here, I guess. I want to remember what this is. I'm annoyed I can't remember it. Alright, so back in the real world here, this game, not exactly, this gets so close, and we're on the draw too. I'm not going to keep it, but Runechanter's Pike, that's the name of it. Oh, it also gave it First Strike. How ridiculous. So yeah, those 1/1 Spirit Sheep made off of Moorland Haunt actually just won combat with everything. Now this is a sweet one. I think that's where we actually want it. We get a Flash into Rattle Chains. depending on what our opponent does here, but we might get a flash and rattle chains and immediately equip it. That's not... I see why they boarded in. We actually just beat them using our graveyard. And we do have a Moorland Haunt in this game as well. It's fine. I mean, the thing is, Moorland Haunt won us that game, but it's really just a, you know, it's a piece of the strategy, but it's not that important. If our opponent does nothing here and we get to try to flash into rattle chains at the end of their turn, all right, fair enough. I would assume rattle chains will go away here. Our hand's pretty good though. If we draw one more land, you know, specifically a colored mana and not the one other Moorland Haunt in the deck, we're gonna be in a good spot. This is a tough choice for our opponent. Depends what's in their hand. Yeah, taking spell color. It makes some sense. On the other hand, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. All right, there's that. No need to show that to our opponent, though. It's tempting to play the Selfless Spirit here. In fact, I think I'm going to do it. Now that our opponent knows our hand, there's a lot of value lost in going for the Flash and Rattle Chains play, Curious Obsession play. So I'm actually just going to play the Selfless Spirit because if our opponent has Liliana, we get punished. But if they don't, then this is very, very powerful because we can Curious Obsession it. Ashiok is not Liliana. Pretty good, though. Up to 5, and they got a Spellqueller and a Drogsoul Captain. That's pretty good. All right. Whew, I could draw so many cards right now if I ignored this, but ignoring that feels like a bad idea. All right, let's go ahead and throw 1 on it just so we can poke this thing. This is still not a great spot for our opponent. I mean, Ashiok's pretty good against us. It's a great little speed bump. We got it down to 2. Fortunately, neither of these cards underneath it they can put into play by removing 2. And now we have the Rattle Chains to protect our Selfless Spirit by giving it hexproof. So this could work out pretty well. Let's see what our opponent wants to do here. They could have Cryptic at this point, which is pretty bad for us. There's a Bygone Bishop. 1 Rest in Peace, 1 Curious Obsession gone. Yeah, if our opponent has Cryptic and they just get to protect this Ashiok, that could be pretty bad for us. And remember, Curious Obsession does fall off if we didn't attack, so just tapping our team with Cryptic would work. Sure, okay, the Spreading Seas can resolve, that's fine. We're off of white mana, I mean, that is a thing. It's certainly not ideal, but it doesn't stop the Rattle Chains play. Nor does it stop us throwing another Curious Obsession on this thing to try to finish off Ashiok while we have the chance. This feels like a recipe for losing, I won't lie. Going all in with enchantments on a creature that has to attack every turn to not lose the enchantments while our opponent's playing a Cryptic Command deck. But it looks like it's actually going to work. At least in the sense that we're going to get this Ashiok off the table. We have 1... And there's a Fatal Push. Well, our opponent really needs another Fatal Push. We're going to find out if they have it. All right, here we go. Fingers crossed they don't have another Fatal Push. Wow, they didn't. Okay, that's pretty great for us. Not only do we take Ashiok off the table, we actually get to counter their Fatal Push with our Rattle Chains. Now, obviously, if they do have a Cryptic next turn, we will lose these Curious Obsessions that don't get a cash command for cards. But the fact we were able to get Ashiok off the table is pretty important. Now we have, if our opponent had Damnation or something, we can sacrifice the Selfless Spirit to protect the Rattle Chains, which, again, not exactly ideal, but something. Okay, it looks like this might be what it is, too. There's the Damnation. All right, we'll throw away the Selfless Spirit. I mean, this is still pretty fine for us, right? Our opponent has 1 card in hand. We get to play all of our spirits at instant speed. And now we have a white source, so we can just activate Moorland Haunt. Yeah, all in all, I think we're in a pretty decent spot here. We can flash in Selfless Spirit if they have a board wipe. We can flash in the other Rattle Chains if they have a spot removal spell. Let's see if I'm actually able to fetch here. Yeah, our opponent lets us fetch. Which means I'm just immediately firing off this Moorland Haunt to get another creature into play. Yeah, and our opponent's going to pop this Spell Bomb now, which, you know, makes sense, of course. They get to draw their card off of it as well. But we get our spirit out of this regardless, so I think they should have done it in response to us cracking our flooded stream when we didn't have white mana. Because now we've added another spirit into play. Are they going to Field of Ruin us? Sure. I guess I want a white source here since we already have 2 blue sources. Well, so I could play this. And it is tempting to play it, right? It would make our team hexproof, it would make them huge, but if our opponent then untaps and Damnations away our board, and we're sitting here with a Selfless Spirit in hand that we can cast at instant speed, but we didn't do it because we played Drogskol Captain, I'd feel pretty dumb, right? As is, we have 3 power in play. It's going to kill our opponent before they kill us or Creeping Tar Pit or whatever else. There's just really no reason to do anything at all here. Now, obviously, I'm very good at Magic and drew this Cavern of Souls off the top. So now we can do everything we want, actually. We can play an uncounterable. Again, if I really... Do I even need to? I can play an uncounterable Cavern of Souls here, and I can leave up either Rattlechains or Selfless Spirit. Now I can leave up both thanks to the Cavern of Souls. I'm going to do nothing, though. Again, we can play this at instant speed. There's no reason to do anything. That's a hidden mode on Rattlechains. Everyone just thinks about it as this, enters a battlefield thing. It protects one of your things. It's a 2/1 with flash, and that's how you play the card, but... Gosh, that last line might just be the most powerful. You play all your spirits as though they had flash. Yeah, let's see. Our opponent wants to Spreading Seas our planes. Sure thing. They're trying to dig. I'm not sure exactly what they're looking for here. Drawing Cavern of Souls is actually very good for us. I'm going to play this now. Because now our opponent is more limited on mana. If they want to counter this, that's fine, I suppose. They burn their mana doing that. But as is, we have either Indestructible up against a uncounterable Indestructible protection against a Damnation, or we can go uncounterable Rattlechains to protect our Drogskol from this Fatal Push. And I think we might just have lethal after that. 3, 6, 8, 10 will be 1 off. Yeah, this is just kind of disgusting, to be honest. What we were able to do here. Just through our opponent having a great start, honestly, on the play. Ashiok with spells to protect it. We just put together this team of flying, hexproof, indestructible tigers, and look at that. Tallow-Wisp Spirits taking down Blue-Black Control. That was a really fun match. This is the first game I've ever played with this deck, and that was incredible. I'm sold. We beat double Liliana in game 1 when we had no creatures in play. That was awesome. What a great game of Modern. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Corbin Hospital. Let's try again.